Park a brand new Harley next to a sport bike at a bike night and just watch. Nobody has to say a word. You can feel the judgment in the air. Now go one step further. Post thinking about buying a Harley in pretty much any motorcycle forum, subreddit, or Facebook group on the planet. I'll save you the trip. Here's what's waiting for you. That's not a motorcycle, that's a recliner with wheels. Enjoy the recalls. You're not a real rider, you're a costume. You're a poser. You're a pain in the ass. So, here's the question. Harley-Davidson has been around since 1903. It's basically invented American motorcycle culture. It's the brand tattooed literally on more forearms than maybe any other company on earth. So why does so much of the motorcycle world treat it like a villain? Stick around, because some of this is just snobbery. But some of it, Harley actually did it to itself. And by the end of this video, we'll know exactly where the line is. Let's start with the easy part, the stereotype. In a huge chunk of riding world, there's an unspoken hierarchy. Sport bike guys think they're the real riders because they actually use the brakes and the corners their bikes were built for. Adventure riders think they're the real riders because they're out in the dirt. And the cruiser guys, specifically Harley guys, get stuck at the bottom of the pyramid, no matter how many miles they're actually put in. The complaints are basically the same every single time. Not enough ground clearance to lean into a corner without dragging a foot peg, pipes light enough to set off car alarms 3 blocks away, heavy bikes that handle like a couch on roller skates, and customer base some riders love a caricature as guys who bought a 30 grand motorcycle, rode into a branch twice, and then parked in the garage until the next parade. Now, is that fair to every Harley owner? Of course not. There are people out there putting 40,000 miles in a year on a road glide who'd smoke half the keyboard warriors mocking them. But stereotypes don't need to be true for everybody. They just need to be true often enough to stick. And this one has stuck for decades. That's the cultural side. Annoying, but mostly harmless. The financial side, that's where things get a lot less funny. Because here's the thing, the Harley is just misunderstood. Crowd conveniently skips. The company has been bleeding, and it's not subtle. 2025 was brutal for Harley. Global retail motorcycle sales finished the year down 12%. North America, Harley's home turf, the market it basically built, was down 13% for a full year. Total motorcycle shipments dropped 16%, and in the fourth quarter alone, the company posted a loss more than double what Wall Street was expecting. Revenue in that same quarter down 27%. This is not a niche brand quietly fading away. This is a company that defined American motorcycling, watching its core business shrink in real time. And the stock market noticed. Shares lost roughly a third of their value within months during last year, wiping out somewhere north of $1 billion and a half dollars in market value. For a publicly traded company with this much history, that's not a bad quarter, that's a crisis. The new CEO has been openly calling 2026 a reset year, which is corporate speak for please give us one more chance before you write us off completely. And look, companies have bad years. That alone wouldn't explain the hate, but it's the why behind those numbers that really get people fired up, because Harley-Davidson didn't just get unlucky. A lot of riders believe leadership flat out dropped the ball, and honestly, the boardroom itself agreed. Last year, one of the Harley's largest shareholders, an investment firm holding over 9% of the company, launched a public campaign to remove the CEO and two longtime board members immediately. They didn't pull punches. Their open letters accused leadership of years of strategic failure and described what they called the cultural depletion of the company under his watch. They even built an entire website dedicated for the campaign, with a name straight out of corporate thriller, calling for shareholders to free the brand from the people running it. One of the investors' own board representatives resigned in the protest, warning about a shrinking dealer network, bloated inventory sitting unsold on dealership lots, and a leadership team that, in his words, wasn't holding itself accountable. The CEO eventually agreed to step down. A new one took over promising a turnaround. Now picture being a loyal Harley rider, somebody who'd bled for this brand for 20 years, watching the company's own investor publicly call its leadership a disaster. That's not online hate. That's the people funding the company saying the quiet part of loud. And just when you think it couldn't get worse for Harley's image, this year brought the recalls. This year alone, Harley issued two separate recalls that combined cover well over 100,000 motorcycles. The first hit nearly 17,000 brand new Softail models, bikes from the last year and this year lineup over a rear brake line that could rub against an electrical component, wear through, and leak brake fluid. The fix, Harley had received multiple reports of riders losing rear brake function entirely before they cut it. The second recall is even bigger. Almost 90,000 motorcycles spanning multiple touring models over an issue where pressure can build up inside the engine. And if you pull the dipstick at the wrong moment, hot oil can shoot you out and burn you. Listen that again, pulling a dipstick on nearly 90,000 motorcycles. For a brand that built its entire identity on rugged, dependable American engineering, that's not a great look. And it's exactly the kind of headline that gets clipped, screenshotted, and passed around every motorcycle group chat in the country within hours. You cannot market a recall, and Harley's critics have been waiting for years of ammunition like this. Here is where it gets personal for a lot of younger riders. Harley didn't just struggle with execution. A lot of people believe it actively walked away from the one thing that could have saved it. Them. Back in 2019, Harley teased a sports street fighter called the Bronx, aimed squarely at younger riders who wanted something fast, light, and modern instead of another cruiser. Riders were genuinely excited. It got delayed. Then it got quietly scrapped from the website entirely. Cancelled. The bike that was supposed to be Harley's bridge to a new generation just vanished. Then there's Livewire, Harley's electric motorcycle brand, which was supposed to be the company's answer to a changing industry. In the last year, Livewire sold fewer than 1,000 motorcycles, total worldwide. Can you believe that? Meanwhile, the average age of a Harley buyer has hovered in the mid to high 40s over a decade, and depending on whose numbers you trust, it's closer to 50. Harley's own executives have argued that customers simply age into the brand rather than the brand aging out of relevance. Maybe. But critics point out that's really a comfortable story to tell yourself while younger riders flock to cheaper, lighter bikes from Honda, Yamaha, and KTM instead. And then there's the tariff mess. Back in 2018, to dodge European tariffs, Harley shifted some production for European-bound bikes overseas to Thailand. For a brand whose entire marketing identity is built on Made in America, that move landed like a punch to a lot of patriotic flag on the tank loyalists. The exact customers Harley couldn't afford to alienate. More recent rounds of tariffs have squeezed the company's profit margins all over again, proving the issue never really went away. Add it all up, and you get a brand that a lot of riders feel made promise after promise to evolve, and then quietly broke every single one of them. Now, before you write Harley off completely, because honestly, that wouldn't be fair either, there's another side to this. In the most recent quarter, North American sales actually jumped to 16%, driven by genuine excitement around the new model lineup. Harley still commands roughly 30% of the US heavyweight motorcycle market, which is more than any single competitor. Pan America, mocked early on Harley's awkward dead bike, has actually become a legitimately respected adventure bike in its own right, and the Harley owners group is still one of the largest, most loyal riding communities on the planet. Millions of people who genuinely love these machines and ride the hell out of them. So is the hate deserved? Honestly, some of it's earned, and some of it is just tribalism. The recalls are real. The leadership chaos was real. The broken promises to younger riders were real. But the idea that every Harley rider is a poser who's never seen a curve in their life, that part's just internet noise. So here's my actual take. The motorcycle community doesn't hate Harley-Davidson because it's a bad motorcycle. It hates what Harley-Davidson let itself become. Slow to adapt, mismanaged at the top, and a little too comfortable resting on a logo instead of earning the loyalty all over again. But brands have come back from worse. Do you ride a Harley? Did you used to walk away? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one, and I might pull the best takes for a follow-up video. If this kind of deep dive is your thing, subscribe, because I've got a lot more of this coming.